Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Derek. Everyone to the public session of the Community Safety Advisory Subcommittee. We're a subcommittee of the Tenant Services Committee, and we have 5 members of our board, and we're ably supported by all the great staff at Toronto Community Housing. We have one deputant today who I'll call upon when we finish our agenda review, and look forward to a good discussion. Thank you very much. So just starting off, we have the consent agenda. Our agenda review, actually, we have a consent agenda. We're approving the public meetings, see if anyone has a conflict of interest. And then we have business arising out of the minutes, previous minutes, and then the violence reduction program update from Q4 2021. So it's a short agenda, but lots to discuss. So I'm first of all going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda today. Marcel, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And then ask if anyone has a conflict of interest of any kind with any issues or items on this agenda. Seeing none, thank you very much. And then confirm the minutes of the public meeting of November 15th, 2021. Is there a mover? Thank you very much, Councillor Nunziata. Confirming those, all in favor, opposed, they're moved. And then we're looking at the business arising out of the minutes. And we have, and I'm unsure, we did ask for a CSU organizational chart, and that was provided in the in-camera session. And Dara, I'm just going to ask you, that will remain in camera, is that correct?
We've provided some information related to, in response to that request in the in-camera session, but in the material that's part of the public agenda, there is also a version of that simplified org chart that outlines the current positions that exist within the CSU unit.
Thank you. So directing to the business arising, there is the, as Dara has said, the community safety org chart is there. There's also materials that were presented in camera, and for reasons of employment, other issues, I'm sure Barbara could put that much better than I can, but that's why this part is in public, and then there's a part that's in camera. Thank you very much. And then we have the violence reduction program, which is Q2 and Q3. So this is not related to the report we're getting here today, but looking for the following, which is going to be tenants and management, CSU calls, TPS calls, requests for service by community, and all of the issues in revitalization. So that is slated to come in on to the June meeting of CSAC. Sheila, is that the meeting that it would come to?
Madam Chair, the date is for that's coming will be for Q1 and Q2.
Okay.
The report, the update that is in your package today is Q4 of 2021.
Right.
So
okay.
in June, we'll be providing Q1 and Q2. And it is scheduled to come to CSAC.
So that's Q1 and Q2 update coming to CSAC in June. And then this is, I think, more detailed information that will also come in June. That's just related to calls and everything else, a little separate. So there's 2 different things that will come in June, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Looking forward to that. And that's business arising. Any questions or anything on any of the business arising issues? Anybody want to raise anything? We're good. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to accept the business arising action items? Debbie, thank you very much. All in favor? That carries. So now we will move to item number 4, which is the violence reduction program update Q4 2021. And I believe that there's a deputant on this one, Derek, correct?
That's correct. I believe Mr. Avila had asked to depute to committee in relation to this item. Can we confirm that Mr. Avila is on the line?
Hello, are you there? Can
Yes,
you
we're
hear
here.
me?
We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and we'll start your clock. Do we have a clock?
You have a clock?
And can you see that clock, Miguel?
Just going to share it.
You're on you. Yeah, I see the clock on YouTube. Yeah, I do.
Okay, you see the clock, and I think Derek is going to post that somewhere. All right, thank you. Please give us your deputation today. Welcome. There's the clock. Thanks. Please
All right.
start.
I'm talking with regards to this item 4 on the agenda, with regards to the violence reduction strategy. I am a member of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, and we have an SDP plan for Regent Park. Part of this SDP plan is that we have four tables that deals with the specific topics, such as safety and security. On Monday, this past Monday, we have a meeting, and at the meeting, it was discussed that there is a growing trend of stolen bikes and e-bikes from Toronto community housing properties, as well as condominium tenants, residents are experiencing a great number of e-bikes and bikes being stolen in the neighborhoods. One of the systemic issues identified at the meeting was they delayed to get a police record, or they call it GO number, a general occurrence number. So residents of the condominiums, they had to ask for a transcript or request for a video of the items stolen in their building, and it is a pain to get those documentations available for insurance purposes. By the way, to get this general ordinance number as well. In my particular case, my girlfriend's e-bike was stolen on March the 9th from 220 Oak Street, where I am a resident. It was a break and enter without force, which is very interesting. So we have requested since the March 9 general ordinance record. TCHC was the first contact that we had, and there were some delays as a result of this request. We were given a TCHC number, or CORA, C-O-R-A number, as they call it with community safety units. And this number was given to Toronto Police, I think, for investigation. And again, it seems that the transcribing documents from one agency to another agency seems to be an inconvenience. And perhaps this is a great opportunity to address this problem by modifying some of the barriers that are in the system, so that people who have legitimate reasons to claim an insurance loss can do it in the shortest time. So as a result of this meeting at the Regent Park Safety Network, I think it's appropriate to address these concerns with this subcommittee of Community Safety Advisory, so that you guys can figure it out what improvements it can be done, so that the frustration levels experienced by residents of the condominiums and residents of Toronto community housing living in Regent Park are alleviated, and a solution is found. So that is the systemic issues I need to bring to your attention, and perhaps you can have further discussions and ensure that the process is simple and efficient and somehow as quick as possible. That is the request. And I want to thank the members of the community safety unit by providing to me finally yesterday with report numbers so that we can report this to the e-bike store where my girlfriend purchased this e-bike. But again, you know, it's an issue that needs to be resolved by this committee, and maybe it may, you know, maybe push it over to the board for further discussion, especially with regards to CCTV cameras, the policy. I think we need to have participation of tenants as to know, as to find out what cameras are really working in TCHC. Are those cameras, how many are being out for repair? How many cameras are being relocated or they're gonna be brought in? I need to remind you, all of you, that I worked for 7 years to advocate for CCTV cameras at 220 Oak Street, because after 5 murders, it was deemed necessary for me to take action and encourage TCHC to put up these cameras. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
But again,
Thank you, Miguel.
we have to make
Miguel?
some changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you. I'll see if anyone has any questions for you. Are there any questions for Miguel about this process, or can we just ask that his suggestions be referred over to the COO? Yes? Thank you, Miguel, for that information. You've raised some really interesting problems around reporting and focused reporting and getting things to the right place. So I think that we have heard that, and that will go to the COO and perhaps up to CSU to figure out how that could be a cleaner relationship for stolen property, and for letting us know that. And I think all downtown is now, with the end of COVID, the bikes are just being stolen everywhere. They're just being taken right off the streets. And perhaps we'll just find out if that's a common occurrence everywhere, or it's more particular in the downtown area, focusing on the for TCHC, if we're experiencing that in more than Regent Park, and many of the downtown are centrally located communities. Well, can we leave that with you, Sheila and Al?
Yes, Madam Chair. Al will see what data we can pull.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Miguel. So here we'll move into committee and taking a look at the report, Violence Reduction Program Update, Q4 2021. I'll just open this up for questions. Or questions and comments, whatever, however you'd like to start. I'm just going to ask one question. I just need to know about the difference between the CSC and the CSU and how that worked. I understand from here the CSC were summer positions. Is that summer positions? Or are
Can
they?
I answer that?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if I'm saying that. I can't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay, Nadia.
Yes, apologies. So, Councillor Fletcher, the CSC positions are the community service coordinators, and they are embedded in the regions, and they are contract positions, but they are year round. So depending on the VRP program and where we go with it, we will look at whether those positions need to be made permanent, but they're definitely not summer positions, and they're working with the regional teams.
I see, because it says the, an additional staffing attained through the Summer Safety Enhancement Plan.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier in the in-camera session, we'd worked with SafeTO, SDFA, TPS, and other city divisions to put an enhanced summer safety plan in place, which focused largely on community and social supports for tenants. So we did that, and we were able to find some funding to bring on additional staff to support that work, particularly working with young people.
Okay, so I can see that for the CSU staffing update, there's 60 VRP special constables. How many staff are there actually for the CSC staffing? Or were there, if you don't mind?
There are 8 CSCs. So there are 8 community service coordinators, 3 in the west, 3 in the east, and 2 in the central area.
Okay, and how did they report up? Who are they reporting through to?
They report to the supervisors of safer communities, who report up to the manager of community safety and support.
So they're in the
Through the
they're in the
regions.
CSU stream.
No,
reporting-
they're in the regions under the GMs in the community safety and support pillar.
Okay,
So they're the bridge, Madam Chair, from the region to activity happening in community supported by CSU.
okay, thank you, got it. Great, those are some of my questions.
Paula, if I may, I recall reading somewhere that those contracts expired on December 31st and staff were reassigned to other areas. Can you explain that? I wasn't clear what that meant.
The community safety coordinators are still in place. We looked at the enhanced summer safety staff. So the staff that we brought on to do the enhanced summer programming, those contracts had expired. So when we look at the 2022 plan, we may need to up that. We do have some local program staff that have been budgeted year round that are still in place. It was just we brought on additional staff
I
to
see.
support those communities through the summer safety plan.
Thanks for that clarification.
Got it, thank you. Other questions? Can I just ask about page 22, page 13 of 20 of the report? So shootings that were known to be retaliatory, 2019 to 2020. But there's a couple of 2021s in here. You just pull that up, Dara. Is it possible to find that chart?
I think so, no.
There it is, right there. So are we talking, these are only in VRP communities, correct?
Yes, Councillor Fletcher, that is correct. These are only VRP, and these are drawn from the CSU database Cora, which was a manual or human source search that we had to do through all the occurrences to find it.
And would the police have anything different than this?
We did check with Toronto Police, and we covered a little bit in the narrative later. Toronto Police would not provide the data to us in the sense that it could affect ongoing investigations or court matters. So at this time, they were not able to provide that to us. So would they have different? Potentially they would, but again, we're not able to access that at this time.
Sorry, isn't there a memorandum of understanding that, Francis, you'd remember that was negotiated between TCHC and the police for information sharing, seamless information sharing? Are you aware of that? That was probably 2017. You're muted, Francis.
Yeah, there was, but I think, Councillor Fletcher, what you're asking for, and I think the response to yours is, if the police are investigating, they can't give that information out. Once they've completed their investigation and made arrest, that information becomes public.
I think if they're looking, I think I'd really like to have that clarified, because an attempt homicide, you shouldn't have to find, that was an attempt. It doesn't have a name. It's just the fact that they've declared that that was an attempt homicide. So maybe, Al, are you aware of that memorandum by any chance? And Doug Rollins is on here somewhere. Oh no, it wasn't Doug, it was somebody else. Are you aware of that one?
Yes, and we do have a great working relationship with Toronto Police, where information is shared as required for purposes of investigations. However, as Councillor Nunziata stated, some of these are ongoing investigations, either still where an arrest is potentially to be made, or some are before the courts, where Toronto Police were just made it very clear that it could jeopardize either the prosecution or the investigation. So we can definitely go back on a case-by-case basis to resolve any ones that have been resolved through the courts, and I'm sure that we could figure those ones out. But the ones that are ongoing, as I said, they were very clear that obviously the case had to take priority, which it should.
Well, I guess I'm not asking to stop any investigation, but also I think we're very interested to know that we have information about every community. And the fact that everybody in that community knows whether CSU is there and documented, or whether the police have documented it, at least everybody knows that a firearm was discharged. We're not asking who did it. We're not asking why they did it. We're not asking if they've been arrested or anything. It's just the simple fact that that happened. I'm having a very hard time understanding that, Francis. Maybe you could
Yeah,
help.
so Councillor Fletcher, if you just want to know a list of incidents that have happened,
Correct.
what you're asking for, I believe that that should be public. So if that's what you're asking for, is how many incidents in this area, but not
Yeah.
specifics, not with tenants' names or anything.
No
just
names.
the numbers.
That's correct. So
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking for. So I
could
mean,
you
we
put
could.
that, I'm just going to ask Dara to put that chart back, or Sonia to put the chart. So when you look at it,
If I can, while Sonia's putting it up, the
Okay.
element of the request that may be problematic, and I'm just trying to clarify what I think Al is saying is, the element of the request that may be problematic from the police service perspective is that the chart identifies, Sonia, if you can put it back up, incidents that were known to be retaliatory, and that may involve looking at a circumstance and getting into the details of some of the matters that you've indicated are not the subject of your request, such as who did it and why. And so the police may be concerned in the context of an ongoing investigation that releasing public data that might implicate that particular shooting was a consequence of a particular motivation might compromise their investigation. I haven't been part of those conversations, but that may be the concern that police are expressing about sharing that information.
So why don't we get clarification? We can request that to the police, to the chief, and get clarification on that, and then we
Yep.
can come back to it. Because you're right, there's a difference if, if they're under investigation, you can't release that information. We do release on the police services on the public agenda, the number of homicides in different communities and robberies and car thefts. We do have that information that is public, that goes on the public agenda. But let's see what the police, let's get clarification from the police service.
thank you,
Absolutely.
Francis. Yes, because there are bulletins that go out whenever there's a firearm discharged in a neighborhood. The
No,
police
I
send
know.
out a bulletin. So I understand what you're saying, Dara. It's about retaliatory or something about drugs. So it's very specific, and perhaps that's a question. We can see that. But I think what would be interesting is and these are in the VRP communities. This is only in VRPs right at the moment, right? We're not looking at the whole place. But do we have a list that would be of all firearm discharge, attempt homicide, that are not related to retaliation or not related to vulnerability due to drugs, but just the big picture, and these are very select subsets, right?
Yes, Councillor Fletcher. In this particular attempt at work here, we were trying to respond to the retaliatory question that was raised at the last meeting. So that's why it was very narrow in scope. But we definitely have all of the offenses that you mentioned tracked and traced. We can put that together for each site for you, and also we can correlate that, as Councillor Nunziata said, with the public documents from Toronto Police. It was just the retaliatory part that caused the uniqueness of this situation.
Thank you for explaining that. Thank you for explaining that.
And
Go
we
ahead,
do,
Francis.
we do at the police agenda, on the public agenda, we do get a list of all the divisions and the number of homicides, with all the divisions. I mean, but that doesn't give you, if it's Toronto Housing, but they do give you a total of and breakdown with all the divisions.
I know, because yes, I get that. I get those all in my email too, all the time.
Yeah.
Just on that, I think it might be helpful, because have we had that before, Al, where we've actually had the number not of just retaliatory, but the number of attempt homicides, firearm discharge homicides related to those communities that are VRP communities?
Councillor Fletcher, I don't believe we have. We've reported the overall numbers in sort of a raw data set as antisocial behavior, violent or crimes against persons, crimes against property. But to actually refine it right down, we haven't, but we certainly can as required.
Since that, and I don't know how the other committee members feel, but since we have these discrete communities that are in VRP, to me, it makes sense to be looking from 2018 to today and see what that trend looks like. I think that would be helpful, Al, if that's possible, to bring that.
Yes, we definitely will,
that.
Councillor Fletcher. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else have anything on this report? No?
I think Marcel had his hand up.
Sorry,
Mr.
Marcel.
Charlebois.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Now with the reports with the shootings and stuff, and the incidents that are in the vulnerable communities, is it possible to actually break down the incidents, like the days and the month, to that location? That way you start seeing a pattern.
You're looking if there's patterns, right? You're
Yeah.
asking, are there patterns here?
Yeah.
Yes, from CSU's standpoint, we could break down the data as much as possible or as required for the board and for the committee. Again, with whichever parameters you'd like. We do have the data. It would have to be a human search because our current records management system is not capable of electronic search at this time, but we definitely could do that and we could provide whatever is required.
You want to see how that might be for the VRP communities, Marcel, if there's a pattern of dates and
Yeah.
particular times of the month or something like that.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how that would connect with other things.
Very good. So Al, you've heard that. And then the chart is on page 18 of 20 of our item, which is all the VRP communities, except I know we're taking, well, the seniors are in there. It has to be in its own category. But that's really what we'll be looking at as far as year over year for extreme violent crimes, the guns, homicide, attempt homicide, discharge, robbery with gun robberies, etc. So are you going to that one, Tara? There it is there. So that's also what Marcel is saying. Is there a pattern anywhere in there for when things are taking place, particularly related to guns? Good. Thank you. Anything else, or can we, I'm sure that this is a public document, so. Oh, there's somebody got their dog. Hello. We're in your home. We're in everybody's home. So anything that goes on in your house goes on in our meeting, right? No problem. So that's it. If we can receive this for information, and also the move by Francis, and ensure that it's over to Wyndham, and there's been some undertakings throughout. We thank you very much for that. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And we are now, look at that, Dara, almost on time. You've kept me on time. Before we leave, I did it at the beginning of our in-camera session, but I'm going to do it at the end of our public session. And that is just a very public thank you to Sheila. This is her last meeting, and she was of CSU, of our CSAC. And we set this up a while ago, and you've been very gracious in giving all of your time and attention to what I know you believe, Sheila, is a really important area of work for TCHC, for the City of Toronto, and for the city as a whole. And that is violence reduction in the city and in our communities, and healthy communities, and the pillar of community safety and support. And so you've been very patient in all of our requests and in keeping moving to getting a package. And as I said earlier, in our communities where we're really getting to know exactly the spots where the interventions would be best served and where all of our resources would best go. So just on behalf of our committee and members of the board who are here. And I'm sure the staff will all be speaking for themselves, or there's City of Toronto staff here as well. We just want to take this opportunity to formally thank you. And we're getting our clapping icons out on WebEx. There we go.
There we go.
To say thank you. And I'm sure we'll have an opportunity at our board meetings, but I think that this is a very special committee, and I know that safety is something that you believe very strongly in, as we all do. And we might not always agree on everything, but this is such a good committee to kind of come to synthesis for what the next steps are and finding the ways to do things together, which is how we will actually tackle this whole problem at the end of the day. So just my behalf and the committee's behalf, this is a formal thank you. Dara, I'd like that in the minutes, please. I'm going to move a
Sure
motion.
it is.
Thank Sheila for all of her incredible
you.
work and commitment to the issue of safety on behalf of tenants and staff at Toronto Community Housing. I'm moving that, and I take a seconder and take a thirder, take everybody here, all in favor. Thank you very much. That's now official. So thanks so
Thank you.
much, Sheila.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Appreciate it.
And we'll see everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people shortly. So all get a coffee break now. Thanks to Dara, who kept me on track. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.